Patrice.
Patrice.
Yeah, my name's Anton, A-N-T-O-N.
I heard all about you last time. Everyone gave a bio, including yours.
Are you serious?
You'll have to go back and watch the
Are
recording.
you serious? You say this is gonna be a productive meeting because he's not here today.
No, everything was WWAD. What would Anton do?
That's scary.
Okay, so we're recording, correct?
We are.
All right, folks, I think we'll get started so that we can proceed with our agenda here. We do have a quorum, so I'm calling the meeting to order. Do we need a roll call?
Need roll call, yep. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna take quick attendance since we are hybrid, starting in person. Rick,
Yes, here.
Anton,
Here.
Patrice,
Here.
thank you. Deb,
Here.
Lydia,
Here.
April.
Here.
She's there.
Thank you.
What about David and Ron? Are they still on?
They are, I did get an email from David saying he wasn't able to join us this month, but I did not hear from.
Yeah, we're fully staffed.
I didn't know whether we lost somebody.
No,
We've only missed a month.
I know, but you know, nowadays changes very rapidly, so people just fall out of the sky sometimes.
All right, so first agenda item is to,
Yeah, sorry.
what's the matter?
No. First agenda item is to go over the minutes.
Right,
I
is
thought we were jumping into old business before
Yeah.
doing the agenda. I'm sorry. I've only had like 3 sips of coffee this morning.
That's quite all right. Yeah, Jamie sent the minutes from last meeting out to everyone. I don't have any additional input or anything. I'd like to offer it up for a motion to accept them. So moved by Mr. Anton. Second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, we have a second.
Patrice.
Patrice.
She
Sorry.
likes the French pronunciation, so don't screw it up.
Oui.
Do not screw it up, Rick. It's
All right.
Patrice.
I'm talking-
Before we get off task here, is there any further discussion needed on the minutes? Seeing none,
Right, we'll roll call again. Rick,
yes.
Anton.
Yep.
Patrice,
Yes.
Lydia,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, next agenda item is to approve the agenda. As typical, I just wrote out there, does anybody have anything they want to bring to the committee at this time that's not on the agenda? All right, hearing none, I guess the agenda is locked in and I'm going to turn it over to you for old business.
Sure. So the first item on the agenda is Sustainable Scarborough Day. We're just over a month out at this point. So it's again, the reminder of the date is October 1st. And so this group had talked about requesting that the council declare the date of the event as Sustainable Scarborough Day as kind of another level of promotion and to get people hearing about it, thinking about it, and just to kind of reinforce the commitment to sustainability that Scarborough has. So in the packet was a proclamation for you all to consider. I'll share it here in just a second. I can find my mouse again. And so the packet included a PDF, and then I also provided a link to a
Cat. To a cat.
well, everyone at home can't see my adorable cat.
It's cute.
Only you
It's
guys
so sweet.
can. All right.
He looks delicious.
All right, so now you all can stop looking at the cat and look at the proclamation. I also provided in the email that went out to you all a link to a Google Doc where you can review and edit. I haven't seen any edits. Well, there are a couple edits from the Conservation Commission. So this will be a joint submission from the Conservation Commission and the Sustainability Committee. So we'll go over it at this meeting. Conservation Commission will go over it at their next meeting, which is at the beginning of September. And then the council is expecting it for their second meeting in September, so it's kind of already.
Oh, that's right, they go back to 2 in September.
Yes, thank goodness.
Mhm.
So I don't want to read it out to you all, so if you want to take a minute.
I've seen it.
Okay. So if there's any thoughts or revisions, suggestions to add to,
I think it looks fine.
I think it was great.
Thank you, Jamie.
I guess you got a green light.
all right, can we have an official motion since this is going to go to council?
I move to approve the proclamation for Sustainable Scarborough Day, October 1st, 2023, to go to town council.
Thank you.
Very good. I second.
Further discussion?
How else are we going to get this out?
Yeah, so we'll go through this and then I can give an overview of the marketing and promotion that is really going to start hitting heavy this week.
All right, I guess you want to didn't hear any discussion further, so let's take a roll call vote.
All right, we'll start in person again. Anson,
I approve.
Rick,
Yes.
Patrice.
Yes.
Lydia,
Yes.
Deb.
Deb,
Yes.
you're
All right, I will stop sharing.
Nice job.
can we
Thank you
see your
all.
cat?
After the meeting, I'll show you plenty of cat pictures. So yeah, I can give an overview of the marketing that's going into this. So there will be an article in this week's Leader. There will also be an article in our next e-newsletter, town e-newsletter, which goes out September 1st. We're going to start getting information out on social media with regular posts about the event and the vendors and speakers who will be there. We're asking all of the vendors who have committed to being there. We're providing them with a promo packet and asking them to do some posts on social media and get information out to their respective circles. We are also going to have, we've developed a flyer and a poster that will be distributed around town. We'll be doing a few kind of yard signs around town in limited strategic locations. And I think that's the bulk of it. There is information on the town's website, so everything will point to that. We've updated the event page has been updated with the list of vendors who have committed. We're still having getting some interest from other groups slowly rolling in, but we've got about 20 or so people signed on to participate as a vendor. And we've got 6 workshops scheduled. One of them will be given by Deb about the efficiency upgrades that she's done at her home. Also having Efficiency Maine talk about tax credits and rebates that are currently available. We're doing a sustainable landscaping workshop, a grow your own apothecary garden. We are also doing a kind of a climate action talk. I think that is 6. Oh, and no, Go Refill, which is a store in South Portland, is going to come talk about sustainable consumption. So reducing packaging and things like that. Our event was approved as part of the National Drive Electric Week. So we are also on the National Drive Electric Week website, since we are doing EV test drives and promoting EVs and EV charging and things like that.
How are we gonna do that? You have cars lined up in the parking lot?
Yep. So I can actually kind of share the let me pull it up. We've got a map of the event working on, just a very basic schematic, and so let me just share this for everyone on Zoom also. So we are going to be at Wentworth School. The EV test drive is going to be at the library. That will kind of be our home base. So we'll be at Wentworth School. We're going to have vendors set up around the bus loop. Fingers crossed that it is going to be a nice day. If it's not nice, there is space for us to move inside at Wentworth School.
Good news is it's not a Friday.
It is not a Friday. It is a Sunday, however. So, I mean, Sundays have been
Not too bad.
They've been getting better. So I hope we continue on that trend. And then we have the Greater Portland Council of Governments coming and bringing their electric vehicle, and they had indicated that they were going to reach out to a couple dealerships and see if they could get a couple different EVs for people to test out. And then so the EV test drive loop will come down Quinton Drive and go back towards the middle school and loop around and come back to the public library. So it's a nice kind of internal test drive loop, obviously not really expensive amount of time for a test drive, but still for people to kind of get the feel of things.
You won't be able to get to 0 to 60.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can't do the Tesla, like really get
Sorry.
going. Yeah.
Does anyone have a Tesla on the committee?
I don't think so.
I have a colleague that has one. Pretty
No,
cool.
no, Patrice, none of us have that much money.
I have a plug-in Prius.
I think there are, and Deb has a Nissan Leaf. We can bring one of the town cars down as well. The town has a couple older model Nissan Leafs that serve our purposes for kind of going out and doing site visits and inspections and things like that.
I think it's a really good idea to bring one of the town vehicles down and have some signage on it, like to make it clear that that's a town vehicle and what it's used for.
Yeah. So we can definitely plan to do that also.
What about the seed project over in the native seeds over in Cape Elizabeth?
So we have reached out to Wild Seed Project to participate, but we haven't gotten a response from them. We have a committee member, a couple committee members that have worked with them in the past, and unfortunately we haven't heard back from them. So we still have a little bit of time to get people lined up if they do decide that they want to come. And we had, I think, targeted them as a potential workshop, but at a minimum having a table with information and talking to people. But they haven't committed, so.
Can I also reach out to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I will follow up with you with an email to including some of the information about the event and the link to the vendor form. So if they do want to, we basically just need them to take a couple minutes to fill out an online vendor form. So we have all of the information we need from them in order to it's kind of just a confirmation that they're going to be there.
I'm in the Scarborough Garden Club. I think we'll have some kind of a little table.
Okay. That's a great idea.
And we have a lot of members that are very passionate about natives.
So I will follow up and send you an email after this meeting with all of that information so that you can kind of just fill it out and plan to join us on that day. That's great. Thank you. And so we had briefly talked last meeting about this committee having a table at the event. So wanted to talk a little bit more since we'll only have one more meeting before the event. So need to start thinking about what this group wants to kind of focus on and have as part of the display. So we have a pretty cool tablecloth, a sustainable Scarborough tablecloth. So we'll have you all set up looking, pretty official. We've got sustainable Scarborough reusable shopping bags that this group can give out. We've got some information about recycling. Maine will also be there, but it won't be bad to have multiple sources of information. We talked last time about getting information out to the public about the different rates from CMP. The EV, or I can't remember the two of them off the top of my head, but I did reach out to Jay Chase asking if they have kind of any handouts or information other than what's on their website. and they do not, but he kind of touched base with the powers that be, and they're planning on pulling stuff together for us.
Oh,
So,
good.
I'll or with Jay about that, probably next week. Just
So the EV rate and the heat pump rate
Yeah.
is the,
Yeah, the high user rate, which is kind of for anyone, and then the heat pump, seasonal heat pump rate.
I've just anecdotally, I've just heard the response to that is very slow. I've heard people say that they sent in their request for it, filled out the form, and they never hear anything back from CMPC. I guess they,
Yeah, they do say, someone, you fill out the online form and they're like, someone will be in touch. Yeah,
and that doesn't happen. Yeah.
so,
See, this is why we don't need a investor owned.
yeah. Someone who's going to be a little more responsive to their customers, perhaps. Perhaps.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on what this group might want to focus on, at the table on Sustainable Scarborough Day? And then we also need to talk about who's going to staff that table.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be in Philadelphia. I won't be here. Sorry, I'm sorry, it's long standing.
I have blocked that day off, so I plan to attend the
Okay.
event.
And again, it is.
Same.
Are you gonna bring light bulbs with you? You were always very popular when you were handing out light bulbs.
Sure, anything free.
Free stuff from Efficiency Maine.
It's not free. It
Well-
comes out of your wallet.
Well,
Would you rather spend money on a free light bulb to give out, or would you rather it be put toward incentives to get you to do something you wouldn't do?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a philosophic question.
We tend to
Free
not,
light bulb.
we tend to
Free
not.
light bulbs were very popular though.
We offer free technical assistance, project management, we do all kinds of free stuff.
Just say no free light bulbs.
Well, you're not even doing rebates on light bulbs.
The light bulb, no, because of ESA has changed and the market's transformed.
It did the job.
It did exactly what it was intended to do. Yeah, you can't buy discount bulbs anymore. Instead, spend the money on a discount heat pump water heater.
Not gonna give any of those out at the event.
Oh, man, if we could,
I'll take one.
that lends me, I wonder if we could get, we're not doing raffles or anything.
We haven't set it up yet, so,
That would be so cool.
That would be an interesting
Very
idea. Get
interesting.
Dave's World or one of those
Yeah.
contractors.
Well, I'm thinking Home Depot or Lowe's. They can absorb that cost a lot easier, and since Maine is the #1 seller for Lowe's of heat pump water heaters. Let me explore that.
Okay.
It would be so cool to have at our booth, not Efficiency Maine's booth.
yeah, the
but
towns.
but a heat pump water heater on display, and then at the end, we raffle it off.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
All right, I'm taking that one on.
Awesome.
Just given our task of putting together the memo, would there be any benefit of asking people to share their vision for a sustainable Scarborough, like the future, like what would they want to have in town, or to share their thoughts? Not
Like a
spec-
board
like,
with
not-
some
not tying
stickies.
that- yeah, like something like that, that then we could use for our own purposes, but also just to have something that's interactive.
Great idea.
Yeah, I like that idea. Lydia, do you think would people be able to kind of like write down their own ideas, or would we already have ideas there for them to kind of?
Maybe categories, and then let people put ideas in it.
Yeah, we could start it. I mean, yeah, definitely like put down some of the stuff that is in the Google Doc, just that stuff that we're already talking about, and then let people too fill in what they want.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yes, we can make that happen.
Yep.
That can be at our booth.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
writing it down so I don't forget right after this meeting. And then when I go do the notes, I'll be like, oh, right, I was supposed to do that. Yeah, that is a really good idea. So I will work on pulling together kind of a poster display for that and have you all take a look at it. It would be great if we can kind of have it ready to be finalized by our next meeting. So might require a little bit of homework on everyone's part to just kind of weigh in on what it looks like and what is included on there. We can kind of flesh that out a little bit as we go through the next topic when we talk about the kind of potential projects that we might want to highlight in the council memo.
This is a silly question. Is there going to be music?
So we're working on that.
Like John Campbell? You went to his last, there wasn't breathing room, there.
Oh, on the concert in the park?
Yeah.
That's different. It's so hard to ask him because he always ends up, if you want to pay him, he always gives it back. And it's so tough because he's such a nice guy. I've asked him numerous times for American Legion and things of that nature and talked to him. He's just such a super guy.
That's okay.
If we wanted to have music, we should say, we want to give you a stipend. And are we willing to do that? But we also know his habit.
Yeah.
That he turns it back.
I mean, so the committee's been talking about this a little bit just because thinking about the space and if we do have to move inside, I don't know that the space will be conducive to music. And then we don't want it to be so loud that you're not able to talk to the people who are setting up with information, hoping to talk to people. So I don't know, we're thinking about like something that isn't actually vocal, so just instrumental, or I actually reached out to the Maine Marimba Ensemble, which is, they're awesome and would be perfect. But they're also they're already booked on that date. And what we budgeted for Sustainable Scarborough Day would not pay for what it would take to get them here, which is good information to have for
Maybe second annual.
Yeah.
So, we can grow this to
Right.
be bigger and better as this is the first time.
Yeah, so one of our committee members was going to look into a drumming group, which she said she has seen at a festival in the past. It was New Americans from Africa. They have a drumming group. She said it was really well received. People were super into it. It just had really good energy. But thinking about that also in terms of where do we put them so it's not, the sound isn't overwhelming and you're not able to have conversations with people. So if we're able to get that worked out, we may have that drumming group, and definitely good information to have for live music for our second annual Sustainable Scarborough Day, thinking about what we need to budget in order to get live music there for our next event.
Is I forget the name of the group at the high school. Are they gonna have a table or are they involved?
So one of the committee members, the Ethos Club, did reach out to their advisor and they're interested in participating. So they're just getting back to school. So we'll I have to follow up and see.
That's true. They're probably not well organized yet.
Right.
For the new year.
Yeah. So school starts next week. So we'll see if they're ready to jump in with something this year. And if not, get it on their radar for next year. It's just the timing of when we started working everything out was not ideal for a school group, since we really got things underway in the spring and they were kind of wrapping up their school year.
Understand.
There's a music teacher, a piano teacher in Scarborough who is Ukrainian, and there was a concert, I think 2 years ago, a benefit for Ukraine, and she organized it, and a lot of her students, blow your socks away. And John Campbell was there. There were a lot of really fabulous musicians, and she lives in Scarborough.
Do you have any other information about her?
I'll figure out who she was. I'll let
Okay.
you know.
Okay, great.
I don't know whether she'd be interested, but she does benefits.
Worth an ask.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, Rick and Lydia, all right, back to just volunteering and being at the committee. So Rick and Lydia have volunteered to be at the event, and Deb, you're gonna be there because you're
Yeah, and can hang out at the table when I'm not otherwise occupied.
awesome.
I'm gonna be there. I don't know. I'd like to get the garden club and members involved more.
Yep.
In all these issues too, but I'm definitely gonna be there.
Great. And I think the way that we're going to do it, we're not going to assign kind of table or booth spaces. It's basically first come, first serve. People are going to be able to set up their spot. There is a ton of room around the bus loop. So I think we'll easily be able to accommodate the 20 to 25 or so groups who are planning to be there. Oh, and the other thing I want to mention is food trucks. We have one food truck that has reached out. I followed up with them and I'm waiting kind of for confirmation, but it's Empanada Club. I think that they've been at the farmer's market before. So I've reached out to some individually, and then one of the food trucks who wasn't able to join suggested that we reach out to a contact at Fort Food Lab, because there are a number of operations that work out of Fort Food Lab. And so that's how Empanada Club kind of came to us, which is awesome. So we're hoping to have at least 2 food trucks. So looking to confirm Empanada Club and then find one more. So if anybody has a food truck contact or connection, let me know if you're willing to reach out and I can get information to you. So I think that's what I had for Sustainable Scarborough Day. Does anyone have any other thoughts or questions?
Are we going to get a banner across the road?
So we are going to plan on a banner probably for next year. We're going to kind of see how this one goes before we invest in the banner that might be used just once. I think it'll be an overwhelming success, so we'll have a banner in future years, but for this year, we're not going to do a banner.
They're fairly expensive too, aren't they?
They are expensive, yeah.
But if you put a Coca-Cola logo on it, they help pay for it.
Rick, you're full of good ideas.
Well, that's how schools get the scoreboards.
Yeah.
You know, they put on Gatorade or something like that and they get money.
All right, so we can move on to the reserve account if we're ready.
Yep.
Okay. So just to give a quick update on where things stand with that, in your packet, it was a copy of the our current electric permit, just so you can see kind of what it looks like. And Autumn did some work to pull together the past several years of permit fees. Let me just pull this up real quick.
Yeah, that was interesting. The income.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get this. No, I'm not gonna. All right, sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. for a
And this
minute.
is based on fiscal year, right?
Yes, this is based on fiscal year. I need to get my mouse under control. I'm gonna pull that down so you all can see, and now come back over here and share my screen for the Zoomers. There we go. So looking at so the past several years of electrical permits. So obviously we don't have, this is our current fiscal year, so it looks like we're running at a deficit currently. But looking back, there's been a fairly significant overage in the electrical permit fees for the past several years. And Autumn did the calculation for if we just took 20% of that surplus, what would that look like if it was directed away from the general fund and into a reserve account? And so over a few years, we have almost, we would have, based on these numbers, right around $30,000 for our reserve account for sustainability projects. And looking at the electrical fees, there's a lot of the kind of practices and products that we are promoting through this this committee, including EV chargers, solar panels, heat pumps, and then with our large scale solar array, it's $1 per kilowatt that they have to pay as part of their electrical fee. So, I mean, this could be a good kind of initial start for the sustainability fund. And I've also started working on revising the EV charging section of the zoning ordinance to allow the in lieu fee to go to sustainability projects in general, as opposed to just focused on EV charging infrastructure.
I'm sorry, I don't understand electrical permits. What is this?
So
What's
anytime
the dynamic behind electrical?
electrical work is done by an electrician in someone's home, they like.
Or business.
Or business, yeah.
In Scarborough?
In Scarborough, they need a permit. And that's because, you know, our code staff goes out and inspects and all of that. And so it's a way for the town to have an idea of what people are doing within their homes and for tax implications, like, and things like that. So, so there's a direct connection between, and for the past several years, there's been we've under budgeted the amount of revenue that will be generated through our electrical permits. And currently, all of that funding goes, or all of that revenue goes towards the town's general fund. So at our last meeting, there was some discussion of, well, what if we took a portion of that, because it is directly related to the work of this committee, and put it into a reserve account that this committee could work on building over time, and then have access to, with council approval, to do various projects, match grants, you know, develop programs, which we'll talk about in the next kind of half of this discussion. So, are there?
Can you go back up to the one, to the fees? I'm wondering why we don't have geothermal as a fee. You know, drilling in, if they're doing wells and stuff like that, that's affecting soil and all that.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be captured under the building permit.
Well, I'm looking at, you know, certain things like, you know, you're charging. Well, if somebody already has a home and they're putting in a heat pump, they have to pull a permit. And it costs $30. New construction, if they are putting in a heat pump, are they charged new $30 for that? Or is that covered under the square footage fee?
All right, who's got their hand up? Oh, Autumn has their hand up, good. Autumn is lurking.
Oh,
I tried to promote her to a panelist, but she didn't want to. Or maybe it didn't go through. All right, go ahead, Autumn.
Can you guys hear?
Well, we could, now we can't.
nope, we just lost
Sorry,
her.
I had to be promoted. No, Rick, they would actually, the minimum permit would be $60. We charge the admin fee, but the a new building would pay their fees based on this as well. So they get added up. So that's why we have.
So that's cumulative then. They pay
Yes.
for the square footage
Yes.
and then they have to pay according to the menu.
Right, exactly. So they
Gotcha.
just add up what they put in. And I've also been told that we're pretty low. So in our fees for electrical permits, we haven't adjusted them in some years. So we have a good surplus that I think you could take advantage of, but we also have maybe some potential to look at increasing our fees over the next few years as well.
On, I'm just curious, on the transformer fee, is that if they put a pad transformer or if a home is being built and C&P puts a transformer on the pole, are they paying the $30 because C&P put a pole transformer?
No, I don't believe so. I think it would just be for any work the homeowner was doing or the builder, not anything. I don't think, I can double check for you, but I don't believe we would charge them for that.
Don't spend a lot of time on that. I'm just curious. I've never seen a transformer fee.
Yeah, so as Autumn mentioned, so every permit is charged the administrative fee on top of whatever the fee is here. So
And I see why you get the minimum, because you get an admin fee and then you have to have an inspection. And so that makes up the 60.
Do people know, citizens know that they have to have these permits?
Their contractors do.
Because the reason I ask is I had some electrical work done, I had a heat pump put in. And no permits were pulled, and I was new to town, I didn't know. And we have some busybodies where we live, and they went and, because I speak out about things, they pulled our file and said, oh, well, you have this and you don't have permits. So I went down to town offices, they said, oh yeah, you need permits and you can just go and get them now. Okay. So, and talking to other people where I live, nobody had permits, and talking to our vendors, they said, oh, well, that's your job as the homeowner to get the permit, not the heat pump company or the electrician or anything like that. It was really, so, I mean, I could dredge up hundreds of dollars worth of permits just from my condo association alone.
It's tough on existing building getting permits.
Yeah.
New construction, it's easy because you have to have a building permit. And to get the building permit, you have to have all the other stuff. When some homeowner wants to put in a heat pump, they can go to Lowe's, buy a heat pump and put it in their own home. And nobody knows. And quite honestly, you don't need to have an electrician hook up your heat pump water heater because you're a homeowner, you can do your own stuff. That's not covered. So it's tough on renovations or existing buildings, specifically homes. A lot of times, as you can see, you got a per fee fixture on a commercial building going through a refit or a renovation or something like that. Although we also know not every contractor pulls permits. But usually the good ones will pull a permit, it'll be part of the fee that they would charge you.
Or they'll at least make sure that you're aware that you're responsible for permits, but
Right.
I mean.
April, heat pump water heaters, that's probably on the plumbing permit, isn't it?
I mean, Autumn.
Autumn, sorry.
Oh, I believe so, yeah.
Autumn, did you have something else to say? Also, we may have been cut off before.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm
I
gonna go
like
back
the
to
idea
lurking.
of taking 20%.
Do what?
I like the idea of taking,
Requesting.
requesting that our town council authorizes us to, authorizes the town to earmark 20% of surplus from inspection or permit fees to the sustainability project reserve fund or whatever you're gonna call it.
And we feel we're entitled to 20% of this based upon the work we've done in the past on efficiency measures in the town. That's our case?
Yeah, and the past work that we've done, and this will allow additional future efficiency work in town with a dedicated funding source.
And it's in compliance with our energy plan.
And last meeting, several examples were given about, in order to apply for certain projects, funds, you have to have seed money. And it's difficult to come up with that within a month.
Yeah. One project we worked on in the past, as far as I understand it, and I was here for that, was the lighting refit.
The lighting conversion.
We saved the town a significant amount of money on that project, right?
Well, it's enjoying the benefits of it now, certainly.
Yeah, of course.
There is that upfront cost that has to be factored in.
I was just thinking of a hypothetical question. If somebody comes to us and says, well, this is just a money grab. I mean, what makes you think that you're entitled to 20% of these electrical fees?
Well, we have, and that's kind of what we're talking about with putting together the memo to show, kind of highlight some of the past work that this group has done, and then talk about future work that this group would like to do. And the other caveat needs to be, pointed out and reminded that this isn't just a free-for-all for the committee to use. The committee will have to come up with either a proposal or a memo to the council outlining how the funds in the reserve account would be used, and the council would then authorize their use.
Yeah, no, I understand that too. I'm just wondering. Why this and why 20%, you know? That was the basis of my
Are
question.
you playing devil's advocate right now?
A little bit,
Okay.
a little bit, yeah.
You want more or less?
No, I'm just wondering, I mean, if somebody says, you know, this is just, you know. I mean, why this and why 20%, you know?
Well, I will say that 20% isn't based on, you know, any calculation or anything. It is at this point, a fairly arbitrary percentage that was pulled out of the air.
I think your best rationale for taking it from this source is that we've done a lot of things related to energy
Right.
in the past, and this makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, just the solar panels on the community service building and the whatever fire station or whatever is saving the town a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has to come from somewhere. Why not this?
Mhm.
So,
And if we're gonna look at projects that, you know, like solar panel arrays and stuff that generate electricity, then we are using the money that they're spending on these to potentially help save money in the long run. I mean, that's a stretch of a connection, but you know, we're reinvesting it.
I would add, we could go a little further. The 20% number was just an arbitrary number. I just put in the calculations to see what that would look like for you all. It seemed a reasonable request, but we could go a little bit further and look at specific permits and to see how much revenue we've generated from those for EV chargers and solar panels and whatnot. And maybe that can justify the percentage in a more mathematical way other than an arbitrary. I think it sounds like a good number way.
April, do you have thoughts on that? Is the council going to want to know how we chose 20%?
I think probably somebody would ask that, but I also think it's perfectly reasonable to say we did some calculations, and when we saw what 20% equated to, we felt like that was a reasonable amount of seed money, and we also feel like, you know, we could justify having generated that much savings to the town. I think it's a pretty straightforward answer from you guys, honestly.
When these proposals go to the town council, do you sit and present at the meeting?
Yeah, and we'll often ask for representation from this group to be there as well to speak on it. Since you all are the constituents for the council, I don't live in Scarborough, so it is, it's good to have residents there speaking on behalf of things like this as well.
And this would probably be more at the committee level.
I was just going to say, yeah, I think this should go to finance committee first, and then finance committee will ask all these kind of questions and they'll settle on a recommendation. And then the finance committee's recommendation would actually be what came to the full council.
And so, and again, the goal for this group is to have all of this information in the memo pulled together by December, because that's when the finance committee will really get underway shortly thereafter for the 2025 budget season.
Does anybody run this by FinCom? Even just the concept of any percentage.
Yeah, not necessarily. Well, it was, so we did have Councilor Clucci, who's the chair of the finance committee, at our June meeting. And we're talking about various ways to kind of develop the reserve account for sustainability. And electrical fees was briefly mentioned, and we did look in or discuss it a little bit more in depth at our last meeting, and then obviously this meeting as well. So this won't be a new concept for him. And we talked about a a capital improvement project, that this committee might potentially want to pursue, as well as a budget line item, just within, the department that I sit in for sustainability. So talking about those three different kind of funding avenues, to support this group's work. Deb, you have a hand up?
Yeah, first, that's also been approved by council, the plan that we put together years ago that includes a sustainability fund has been approved by council. So it's just been years to try to get a number to that. The thing I wanted to say was, are we keeping a list somewhere of other things that we want to try to ask for in the budget? I want to make sure that garbage recycling outreach to new homeowners doesn't get lost.
Yeah, so that would be something that would potentially be funded through like the sustainability initiatives line item. If one was established for like I was just saying, within the engineering and technical services budget, which is the department that sustainability falls under in Scarborough.
And so that's a separate piece that we need to be making that list.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about, if we're ready to kind of move on, we can talk about the potential projects that were also included in the packet.
Yeah.
And a link to a Google Doc was provided as well. So some of these are more capital projects. Some of them are, might be suited for grant funding that may require a match. Some of them may be done just if we were to have a sustainability budget. So Deb, the recycle or the food waste outreach that you talked about, or recycling outreach that you talked about, that could fall under the budget line item. Public Works does currently have like a recycling information line item that we have kind of tapped into in the past when we've been doing the recycling bin inspection and tagging program. So we initially funded that, the first pilot of that, we funded that on our own and were able to get a grant from Walmart to help subsidize it. And then Maine kind of took it on. And we were able to pay a much lower fee to them as a match that kind of was able to come out of that existing line item in the Public Works budget. So I would just need to talk to the Public Works director about what's available there, but we do have some access to some information about recycling outreach and things like that. And so these were the information on this list is what was pulled together based on our discussion at our previous meeting, and then other things that have kind of come up in past meetings, whether they were discussed specifically last month or not. So looking at food waste, we talked a bit about clothing and shoes last month, and there are opportunities out there. Recycling was a topic that we discussed, and then in general trying to set up some sort of swap shop like other communities have. We've got electrification and energy efficiency, and thinking about what other towns are doing. For example, South Portland has an electrical tool lending library, helping people kind of get used to the idea of using electric yard tools. Something that we could consider in Scarborough if we had funding to make that happen. We had talked in the past about offering grants or matching efficiency Maine rebates for efficiency upgrades for homeowners. And then thinking about making our town operations more sustainable, looking at our fleet vehicles and trying to have funding to put towards offsetting the cost of EVs. Although I did just hear they've done some cost analysis with the funding available through the Inflation Reduction Act, and the cost of leasing an EV is now overall the best option.
Best option.
Yep, they've got data to support that now. Literally just heard that this morning on NPR. But then also, I have a typo in there, but training for public works staff. So this is an issue, or I should say this is a challenge right now that our public works is great in terms of fleet management and maintenance of our vehicles, but they haven't really been trained yet on EVs, and we do have a couple EVs in town, and so whenever we've run into issues with them, or with the cars, I should say, Public Works is really at a loss as to how to address it, because they're just vastly different than conventional vehicles that
You
they've
mean
been
how to
trained on.
repair them.
How to repair them. Yeah, and so Southern Maine Community College has developed an EV technical program. And so I know last year when I chatted with our fleet manager down at Public Works about the program, he was looking into the possibility of kind of having a dedicated training for their staff through SMCC to get them trained on maintenance of electric vehicles, and I don't know where that stands. But that would be a great thing for our public works to be trained on. And then thinking about our energy costs and having a municipal solar array, more rooftop solar on municipal buildings, energy audits at our all of our municipal buildings, so we know kind of where things stand. There's lots of others. So you all have access to this through Google.
No, I've seen it. Yeah.
And you're welcome to add to it. There is a fourth column in there with resources that as I was pulling this together, I didn't fill in, but if anybody has thoughts on what resources are needed to make any of these initiatives happen, I encourage you to add them in there.
Has wind ever been addressed?
So interesting that right now, I think right now we don't allow wind energy in development in Scarborough.
Doesn't sound right. I remember being on a committee at one point that was talking about tower heights and lot widths and fall radius and stuff like that.
So, I mean, if you recall, we specifically had to pull together the solar ordinance to allow commercial scale solar. I think
This wasn't commercial scale. I think this was probably just homeowners.
So I will say, I believe that it's on a zone by zone basis, because there was a lot of pushback with wind turbines. So I haven't looked in our zoning ordinance in the past couple of years specifically for wind, so I can't remember entirely what it says, but I know that there are certain areas of town where it is not at all allowed. And I want to say it's probably the more coastal areas, which is where we have a lot of wind.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So the thought with these was to kind of begin thinking about things that we might want to highlight in the memo to council. Where might this committee focus energy, or just to give it a couple of examples of where dedicated funding, where it would benefit in the town, and with some various project ideas. And I love Lydia's idea of getting community input also, so we can kind of put these as part of our, probably a little bit more generally, but as part of the committee's information and display at Sustainable Scarborough Day, to get kind of community input on what we're already thinking about, and then give us some feedback on things that we haven't even considered.
One thing about, we had talked about how much fun it would be to have a swap shop. That said, where to put it is always an issue. I had a house until recently in Concord, Massachusetts, and they don't have a swap shop, but they have a swap day. And it would be like at the Wentworth School, and people brought stuff that they would, throw out. They, couches, tables, chairs, lawnmowers, all kinds of stuff. And they could leave, they're gonna throw it out eventually.
Right.
So, and people came and it was amazing how little was left.
Yeah, I think that will take some work internally to get the various departments that would need to be involved on board, but it could be a worthwhile pursuit for sure. Deb?
I was just gonna say, is there a category here for studies? Because wind applicability would seem like a good thing to study.
Sure, you can, and you have access to this, so you can add that in. I'll make a note of it also, and I can go add it in. So yeah, feel free to, you know, add any and all ideas. This is really intended to be kind of a brainstorming document, ways for us to kind of put ideas down so that they're not lost, and then we can talk about them at our meetings or offline.
I think it would also be interesting at your sustainability day to maybe be able to have some mechanism where people who come by the little table that this committee will have, they can kind of express an opinion on some of these ideas, what resonates with them.
So,
you know, like,
Kind of build off of what Lydia was saying.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a way to do that. We can have little sticky dots that people can kind of put with the item or the topic that they're most interested in
or
most
grid
support.
that they put check marks by, what strikes you as something valuable to do,
Mhm.
you know, because then that would provide you good support going forward. You could say, well, people have expressed an overwhelming interest in shoes from
Planet Palooza 2.0.
yeah, you know, so that, you know, that gives you more support to
Yeah.
whatever you put forward.
Yeah, so what I was envisioning was a big poster with our existing ideas and spaces for people to write in other ideas, and then kind of all the ideas would be in kind of their own box or column or something, and people can then add, you know, we'll give them their little sticky dots, and they can stick, and they can, you know, give people like 3 dots, and if they are really passionate about something, they can put all 3 on one topic, or if there are a few things that they're interested in, they can spread them out.
And most of these are self-explanatory, but not everyone. I mean, shoe collection fundraiser is like, okay, what's that all about? But a lot of the other ones, you don't need to put much of an explanation.
So feel free to go into the spreadsheet and add ideas. And as I said, I will work on putting this in a format that we can use at Sustainable Scarborough Day to get some community feedback on these various initiatives.
Because you have quite a lot of ideas here. It would be interesting to understand how does the community on a wider basis react to these ideas? Do they find any of them valuable, or they just go, good waste, whatever.
And
I will,
Jamie,
I
as
will-
you're putting that together, what would be like a good deadline for us to put in ideas for you?
Oh, that's a
to then
good
make that
question.
board?
So, I will say I need to pull up a calendar.
This should be a living document for Patrice.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Just in case we wanted anything included on the poster for.
Yeah, for Sustainable Scarborough Day, I will say probably September 15th.
Okay. But definitely, I mean, this should be living through
Yeah.
making the
we'll keep-
memo. Yeah.
For sure, yeah, we'll keep using this and referencing it and adding to it, but just in terms of having stuff so that it can be pulled together for Sustainable Scarborough Day, if you do it by the 15th, then I'll be able to kind of have a draft for everyone to look at before our meeting on the 27th. And then have it finalized for Sustainable Scarborough Day on October 1st.
Is water addressed anywhere? Water conservation, water reuse?
So that is not necessarily something that this committee has focused on, but it certainly has its merits. I mean, we water conservation isn't necessarily something that we think about in the Northeast, since we do tend to have a lot of water, but it's still a good practice for
Some
people to-
years we
I know,
don't,
yeah.
some summers, yeah.
Yeah,
The insecticide, what was that committee?
PMAC, Pest Management.
Are
Advisory
they
Committee.
still an ongoing?
They got
project?
incorporated in another committee, right?
Yeah, so they're now part of the Conservation Commission, but still, the same mission.
Yeah, because I think that's really critical, you know,
Yeah.
the use of weed killers and everything at the
Fertilizers.
residential level.
I mean, while it's not necessarily part of this group's mission, I would be happy to include it, on a list of potential initiatives, because it would help. I mean, I think that there is a lot of, I don't know that if I should say a lot, there is support in town on the residential level for some sort of pesticide ban restriction. There so far has not been support at the council level. And so my message has always been, the council needs to hear from the residents if this is the direction that they want the town to move in. Because the town does have an organics policy. It applies only to town-owned land. The town owns only 27 acres or so in Scarborough, so the impact that it's having is pretty low.
I guess I'm also, this is off topic a little bit, but I guess I'm also concerned about all of the spraying that people have been doing to kill mosquitoes and ticks. But what is that doing to our ecosystem?
Oh, it's fucking it up royally. You know. we
That's
know
a
that.
technical term I'm taking.
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, it's important,
Yeah.
it's important stuff. I mean, are we just killing mosquitoes or are we killing honeybees at the same time?
Well, and you're killing anything that eats mosquitoes also. It's the.
No, yeah, it's the old Rachel Carson thing.
Mhm.
And
So,
people don't understand that, well, mosquitoes or ticks are bad, but they're insects. When you kill insects, you kill them all. It's amazing how they don't put it together.
yeah, so
Is that something the Conservation Commission would likely take up? I would hope.
yeah, there's been a lot of discussion. I mean, right now they're very much focused on land conservation, but this is also an issue that,
As well, they should be.
yeah, so.
Stuff we talked about 14 years ago. that
It's
probably
a
didn't
hot
want to.
topic because we know insects like ticks, they carry harmful diseases, which affect our healthcare system. And so, you know, it's a tough,
No, yes,
issue.
it's terribly complex.
I love my chickens getting the ticks in my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I let them out.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
But-
the wild turkeys eat ticks too.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I mean, it's a very complex question. I mean, you don't want to get anaplasmosis and all of the other diseases that are.
West Nile and all of that
Yeah,
stuff.
of course, no, I agree, but it just scares me when I see the kind of indiscriminate spraying that goes on.
Yeah, when there's alternatives that can do the same thing but have less impact, and that's the whole thing.
Like
Yeah.
protecting oneself from these.
In other words, it goes back to what we kind of thought sustainability meant was not doing harm.
Yeah.
Do no harm kind
You
of thing.
know,
Right, right.
You can have pest management, but there's a right way, there's a no harm way to accomplish it.
How many years ago was that we had these conversations, the conservation and everybody with the pest management group? We had a group of people there that were talking about it.
It was-
when they were passing an
policy.
ordinance.
It's a
yeah.
policy, so it only
Policy.
applies to town. That was back in like 2010, 2011.
It was a long time ago, but.
The school department has to do all kinds of things for this. They have to make an annual report. It has to be public.
Yeah,
they're-
schools are required to practice integrated pest management.
We didn't really, as I recall, we didn't get a lot of pushback from residents as much as we got it from the commercial people, obviously.
mhm.
They have a big business interest in this.
Scarborough really only has 27 acres of public land.
Well, that we manage, so our parks and things like that, playing fields.
Yeah, we have a lot more.
Yeah.
The whole Scarborough Marsh is,
Yeah,
Well, that's inland fisheries and wildlife.
oh, that's right, that's. true.
But yeah, in terms of the land that we manage, so we mow and maintain and things like that, it's
Ball
about
fields
27.
and all that.
It would be nice so that just to increase people's awareness of insecticides and pesticides and dangerous lawn chemicals,
Mhm.
everything else like that is part of an educational thing.
Mhm.
Maybe that's stepping on the conservation.
Yeah, I was just saying,
toes,
maybe,
but
maybe we should,
Well, I
Go
can run it
slow.
by them, but I'm really thinking of it more in terms of to help and give the information
Public
to them
information.
to help inform.
yeah, and
Their priorities.
educational. I don't know, whatever.
Deb,
Jamie?
do you?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you've run this list by the Conservation Commission, because if we're going to put up a poster board, we might want to have a few of their ideas seated as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of relates right back to the pesticide and lawn care issue that we were just talking about. But yeah, I can ask them for their input as well. To add some items on there.
it's a good start.
Yeah, I think that this is a great list, and for this committee, I feel like there's a lot on here, but it's not entirely overwhelming. I feel like a lot of it is doable with not a ton of investment. It is, obviously staff time and things like that. So prioritizing and kind of picking and choosing where we want to start with in terms of like which projects we want to prioritize first and whatnot. But I think that that's a manageable start. And I know that there's far more that can be added to that list as well.
the company that does the food waste recycling, vegetable, whatever, that they represented in the
Garbage to garden people
Yeah.
and others.
So we work with, We Compost It, and which is now AgRecycle for our community drop-off location. And so I actually have been meaning to reach out to them to see if they want to participate or not, but they work more large scale commercial, so not necessarily applicable to residents. Garbage to Gardens, I've reached out to on a couple of occasions to participate. So they aren't currently operating in Scarborough. The way their business model works is if enough people from a community request their service, they'll consider expanding because they are a fee for service, curbside compost or food waste pickup.
So shouldn't we put that on the list? Because if enough people want it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but people will actually have to take an additional step to go to the Garbage to Gardens website to request it. We can't do it for them as part of this process, but I did ask Garbage to Gardens to come and have a table at the event, and potentially sign up interested residents who would pay for curbside food waste pickup. But I haven't gotten a response back, so. I am trying,
If you can do it, backyard composting is the way to do it.
yeah.
It's by far and away the most efficient and effective.
It's not difficult either,
What about water bin, having like a
like rain barrels and
Yeah.
things like that. What's the reaction?
Mosquitoes.
Oh,
but you put nets, you put things on them.
I like the ones
Does,
that are
does
closed.
Public Works still have compost bins and rain barrels?
yeah, yep,
At
they are
cost?
still offered. They're not, they don't promote it that much. I don't know how many they still have in stock, but yeah,
Mike Shaw used to have them.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we might want to see if they would bring over like one of each and have a place where
In
people
our booth.
put their names on the list and we could contact them.
Yeah. We gave one away a couple of weeks ago.
You mean personally?
That's something we could raffle off if we couldn't get a hold of a
Compost
hot
bin.
water heater.
That'd be cool if we could.
That
have
that would be
yeah,
a great
yeah.
raffle. I mean, if we can't get it.
Well, we
I
give
mean,
them away. They were giving them away free at the Public Works building. The composters.
You've always had.
No,
to
we
pay-
paid for them.
No,
Yeah,
that's not true. Not true. Mike Shaw used to give them away.
you're a committee member, that's why. wanted you to
He
lead by
told me
example.
They would give them away if you asked them for.
When I
It.
have reached out, they're $50.
A billion years ago.
What was that, Lydia?
When I've reached out, they're $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're reasonably priced.
Yeah. Not free, but
Free mailbox, but yours has to be it.
By the plow.
Yeah. Not by the homeowners.
I recall that he said that he would give them away, but whatever.
I'll
I'm
drop
not-
your name when I reach out.
I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna
Andrew
argue.
told me they were free.
I'm not gonna argue the point. They go, who is this jackass? Andrew?
I would definitely second that we have a raffle of one if the town already owns. them.
Yeah, if the town owns them, I don't think that's,
Yep.
you know, maybe it can come out of the
Yeah.
sustainable budget that you had for this year.
I'm sure that those are long paid for, so I will see if Public Works can
Nice.
donate one of each to Sustainable Scarborough Day.
So we'll need to get a roll of tickets or something like that.
I have roller tickets.
And by far and away, it's not the best composter.
No, it is not.
Trust me.
But it's a start. Get
It's
people
great to
think
give
The
your
little Darth
kids,
Vader helmet.
it's great for the kids in the family to say, hey, let's take the garbage out.
It's easy to put stuff in. It's a challenge after the
Yeah.
stuff is composted to get it out, and it requires a lot of effort in terms of mixing it up and doing all this other mumbo jumbo.
We should move on because it's
Yep.
9:17 now.
So just in time for updates. So April, do you have a town council update?
The only update I have is the school continues to be the number one thing the council's talking about. And we are expecting or anticipating rather second reading of whether or not to send the school to referendum on September 6th. And as it was published in the Leader, the Downs did not execute the purchase agreement that the town sent, or that we authorized Tom to sign, rather, is a better way of saying it. But they did send us a fully executed document one day before our August meeting, which council had not had a chance to even look at or decide what we were going to do. And so I anticipate the council will probably take action on that too on September 6th.
Are you able to say how it compares to what the town?
Yeah, it's a public document. They had requested some language changes. The purchase price is still the same, like the fundamentals of the document are still the same. They wanted some further protections in there that if the deal falls apart, liability type stuff. We've all, as far as the council's concerned, like we feel like everyone has a fair amount of risk in this deal. And so I don't know whether council will feel like the language changes are a deal breaker or not.
So April, the vote might not be, the school might not be on the ballot in November? Okay.
Yeah, so I think the other thing we've kind of agreed is okay to say publicly is there's been a number of counselors who have expressed that they would not feel comfortable sending the school to referendum if we don't have a land agreement in place for a site. And so we would take action on the site first. And I think if that action were to fail, I think that would impact a number of counselors' votes moving the referendum forward.
I guess I'm a little out of the loop on this, and this is again off topic.
Okay.
Has the town council talked to the bond underwriters to understand what the costs and everything are associated with this financing?
Yeah, there's been a lot of financial analysis done. They had an entire.
Who has done the financial analysis?
Oh, Anton, I don't know their names off the top of my head. It's all in the town council finance committee meeting from August.
Okay.
But are you saying, is it the council? Is it a consultant?
Yeah, I mean, is somebody in-house or somebody?
So John Clucci wrote some modeling software. And then we had a third party review the software and kind of give their input on whether or not they felt like it was, reflective of reality. There's so many assumptions that you can input. It's really hard with modeling software to, agree on what the inputs
know.
are going to be. Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
But yes, it was first done in-house and then it was reviewed by a third-party financial analyst.
I guess it kind of, I'll speak my mind. I guess it kind of seems to me like you talk about $160 million over here, and we talk about all of these little initiatives that we have here. And is the $160 million for the school going to suck all of the air out of the room for all of these little initiatives?
Are you asking my opinion on that question? I don't think so.
I kind of am, because it seems kind of ironic that we sit here and talk about, well, we have these ideas and we have these ideas and we have these ideas. And my question is, if this goes through, is there going to be any money anywhere left for any of these ideas?
I think that council.
Well, I don't think that's something that we should put any of our counselors on the spot to answer. We focus on, this is an update from the council, just to tell us what's going on. We shouldn't be deliberating over the content of what they're dealing with.
That's just where my mind goes.
I know, but I just, for the sake of the agenda and the flow of the meeting, I don't think we should get into this, and certainly don't want to put, counselors on the record to say anything when this is just an update to what is going on. If you want to make comments, you should do that at the meeting in which you're raising these issues for. That's all.
This is my chance to.
That's not the intent. That's not the intent of the sustainability committee meeting. And it's great that you're engaged. I'm not saying to, diminish your excitement over it, but I'd like to keep the flow of the meeting going. Fair enough.
He saved you. Thank him for this.
I owe Rick a coffee.
I understand where
owe him a cup of coffee.
Where sometimes it could be, stressful to have to answer questions when it's being popped at you. So moving along, is that all your update?
That's it. Unless anyone else has council specific questions, they want to know what else we're doing. That's all I got.
No, you're busy.
Okay.
But now you're going to go to 2 times a month now.
For the record, we did meet 2 times in August also, so we didn't really actually get the true break that we're supposed to get.
Okay. Well, thank you for what you do.
Planning board?
A couple of things. I think between the last meeting, there was a new solar, utility scale solar project approved. I can't remember. It's off of,
Isn't it West Beach Ridge?
Yeah, that one. Originally, it was going to be coming through Cranberry Pines, but this group that is putting this solar array in met with planning department probably 8 times. So it's been really vetted, and I think it's going to be an addition. Another thing that came before the planning board was a Allagash tasting room with maybe some food sort of arrangements. That's still not been approved, but it has been brought to the planning board. It seems to be a little slow right now. A lot of projects got approved earlier in the year so that they're doing the work now. I suspect we'll ramp back up in January where we'll have full agendas, but it's rather quiet right now.
Nice change.
Yeah.
And Conservation Commission is still working on ordinance, proposing ordinance revisions to essentially work on protecting our natural resources, so increasing buffer widths and things like that around wetlands, streams, rivers. That's kind of their focus at the moment.
I just wonder for potentially next meeting or something. I know this committee's going to be tasked with looking at what long-range planning comes out of on the building design standards. And was just wondering if maybe next meeting we could get an update on where the long-range planning committee is on that and how we might be able to participate in that.
Yeah, I think that is a question for Autumn, if you want to weigh in.
Is she still
Sure.
on?
Yeah.
I'm here. I wanted to mention that the lighting ordinance, the draft lighting ordinance that you all worked on is going to ordinance committee this Thursday. So that's moving along. Rick, as far as the sustainable design standards for architecture, we're way behind. We are currently in long range planning, working on wrapping up the landscaping ordinance. And we're also going to be reviewing low impact development and environmental standards, probably ahead of that.
Okay.
Just the way the order worked for what we needed to get in front for timing first. But I'll give you an update. I'll
I
let you
just
know
don't want the
before.
committee getting bored.
No. I'll find something to bring.
I'm
That's
sure
interesting,
between
too.
you and Jamie, we can come up with some things.
And April has her hand up.
Oh, I just wanted to add one more thing. I totally forgot. Nomination papers for town council seats. 'Tis the season. So there are 3 open seats on the council in November. And so if you have ever considered running for council or you know someone who's interested in running for council, those are available from the town clerk's office. And they're due, I think, the first Wednesday of September.
There you go.
All right, next meeting is September 27th.
And we're right on time,
We sure are.
9:28. Anybody want to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move that the Sustainability Committee adjourn.
Excellent. Thank you all.